Well, today's episode, as you know, we're still in the weekend. We're going to be reviewing ChocoPro 270 with three matches with tag team action and single action. We even got NWA USA, where, of course, our current NWA USA tag team champions put their titles on the line. And we got a very interesting matchups, but however, our main event features Homicide, who, as you know, lost the junior heavyweight title to Kerry Moore. But the question is, how is he now? Then follow up that we got New Japan Strong with week 3 of Showdown. We got some interesting matchups taking place. One of them, of course, is again Homicide taking on Tom Lawler. And of course, as you know, we talked about this before. The tag team division in Strong is now getting hotter and hotter. And then finally, we're going to be reviewing AEW Full Gear. We're going to see what takes place. As you know, will we see titles exchanges, what special matches have been placed. That's going to be interesting as well. Of course, I will be talking as well the 0 hour, which is the kickoff show. Normally, we don't do that, but we are going to do that. And then finally, some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with ChocoPro 270. Our opening match, we have Mia Yotsuba, Yotsuba, yep, taking on Masahiro Takanashi. And I think this is their first encounter as in singles competition. I'm sure they have encountered in tag team competition, but however, Masa has a lot of more experience than Mia. As you know, Mia is the new girl in the block. So that kind of fits into the whole story. But the real question is, can she outlast someone like Masa? She lasts as long as possible until Masahiro Takanashi was able to pick up the pinfall. So this is going to be good experience for her, knowing that she lost to someone like Masa. Then one day she has to keep an eye on him down in the future. Now, our next match, we have tag team action, which was a very fun and unorthodox one. We have team number one, Minoru Fujita and Sayaka Obihiro, taking on Antonio Honda and Arusu Yano. So basically, this was a very fun match because, as you know, Honda is the kind of guy who likes to throw in a bit of the comedy routine in his shows. But there were also moments where they decided to mix match their tag partners, like have Minoru team up with Yano while he teams up with Sayaka Obihiro. That kind of fits into the whole story. But however, one way or the other, things we're going to get back. But it was, of course, Antonio Honda with the diving body splash onto Sayaka Obihiro that allowed for Yano to pick up the win. And 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our next match, we have Chi Koshikawa teaming up with Sayaka, who teamed up before in the past, and they faced off each other before too. However, they face off against Mei Shruga and Yuko Sakurai. Now, this is the first time these two has ever teamed up. They have faced off before in singles competition, one-on-one, but in that particular match, it was Mei who came out on top. But this time, we're going to see a different dynamic with Mei. Now, keep in mind, Mei's true tag partner has always been her bro, none other than Balinaki, but he's still here in the States, I believe. But at the moment, she teams up with Yuko Sakurai. If you guys know who she is from the freelance unit known as Colors, and also a part of the Allied Forces of Cosmic Angels. I thought this match was pretty good because as you know, um, Yuko has a bit more experience, better than of course than Chi and Sayaka, but Chi, as you know, she has all energy. That's her biggest strength. But however, when it comes to this, it was Yuko Sakurai with a bridge suplex that picked up the victory on Chi to win. Now, Balinaki normally would do the translation when it comes to the matches, but in this case, there was no translation coming from anybody. But from what I can tell, it seems maybe Shio Sikawa might be looking for a match, maybe one on one with Yuko, since it was her who picked up the win. Normally we see May pick up the win, but no, she was able to keep Sayaka obtained, keep her separate, but it worked out that way. Now, for a jogging tournament, this was a very, very close one. Now, I would have assumed either third times we saw Mia, who could have been all the way to the finals, but it did not. Uh, May Sugar didn't make it all the way to possibly semifinals, but I was surprised that it was Antonio Honda who walked away as the victor when he defeated Maya Yatsuba in order to pick up the chocolate. So I thought it was a pretty good event. I think that's pretty much it. So stay tuned for the next episode with 271. But right now, let's move on to NWA USA. Okay, NWA USA opened up with Kyle Davis doing an interview in the ring before doors open up. He interviews the Fixers, our current NWA USA Tag Team Champions. Now, as you know, they will be involved in a match with the Country Gentlemen, but however, Wrecking Ball Legursky, who's a bit of the, you know, what the hell you're talking about kind of dude. He thinks that he's facing guys like Willie Nelson, very country gentleman type musicians. However, Bradley was trying to tell him we're not facing those guys. We're facing the wrestlers, Kazana and Andrews. So basically, he has no clue what he was talking about. But it was okay. But the match itself was pretty good. It was okay for an opener. It did show like how AJ, both Kazana and Andrews are trying to win the match. But it took a double choke slam by the Fixers onto Andrews in order to retain the titles. Now, our next match is a very interesting one. Now, let's recap two hard times. If you guys remember, for the NWA Women's Tag Team Championships, we had Madi and, of course, Missa Kate team up, but however, there was a miscommunication from both of them. Madi thought this whole thing was a bit of an intentional, but Missa Kate tried to reason, saying, "Nope, this was an accident. I didn't want this." But however, it kind of went into the direction where Maddie abandoned Misa to the Wolves, allowing for, of course, Pretty Envy to Pretty Empowered to pick up the win. However, this time Misa gets a little payback for what happened in Hard Times. And I think this one showed that she's not playing around, that she really wants to say, yes, I screwed up, but you're going to listen to me regardless. And I think that's kind of the message. But it took a very interesting kick fillet by Misa Kate to put away Maddie. And I think Maddie might have waken up from this whole ordeal, realizing, yep, you may have thought this, but it did not work out that way. So better luck next time. Now, our final interview made by May Valentine, we have Drew Billy Silas Mason. Now, keep in mind, Drew Billy had a very impressive match this past on Hard Times where he stepped up to take on Odison, but the only thing that was not there was Pollo Del Mar, who's elsewhere. But I think many things he's like a little disappointed, but things have to move forward. But he has his sights set on Scion and the National Openweight Championship. So he has to focus on that now. Uh, more, more than ever. So we'll just see what happens then. Now, our main event, we have Homicide versus uh, what's his name? Jace Valor. Well, as you know, Homicide lost the NWA Junior Heavyweight title to Kerry Morton. But the obvious question is, how would he react to this moment? I think he was doing everything in his power to stay cool as much as possible, but it didn't do any well. Basically, he was getting angry. He was losing control of himself. He had no clue what he was doing. However, when it comes to the ref trying to tell him to break it up after the 5 count, he refuses to listen. So the ref had no other choice but to give this match a disqualification and give it the win to Valor. But Homicide, he continues his little rampage, not knowing that he screwed up. Basically, he's upset, but we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks. I think that's pretty much it with our with NWA USA. It's time for New Japan Strong. Okay, New Japan Strong. Open up with Pretty Peter Avalon taking on Kato. As you know, Peter Avalon has been now undefeated in New Japan since he first debuted. I have to say it was a pretty good matchup on this one. I never seen much of Peter what he didn't do when he in AEW, and of course, but he's shown a lot. But I think the one main weapon I think this was brought upon by Ian Riccaboni is of course the Golden Archer, which is his main submission or whatever he did. But however, that was what he used in order to make Kata to tap out. So one is over right there. Next up, we got Bullet Club. Chris Bay and El Fantasmo taking on Blake Christian and Mascara Dorada. But however, Juice Robinson was there too at the commentaries table. Now, this match was a lot of high spots, a lot of movement, a lot of high flying. But however, Juice Robinson, who could not stand by and watch his friends try to lose their match, so he gets involved, costing Blake Christian the match by tossing him towards Chris Bay and giving him a cutter. 1, 2, 3, it was done right from there. Now, Fred Rosser gets an interview. As you know, Fred Rosser will be in a big match, in a non-title match, but has nothing to do with this. He faces against Jay White, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. The reasons behind this particular matchup was because, as you know, we have Fred Rosser is the guy who is the face of New Japan Strong, but however, Jay White believes that he is the one who made New Japan Strong what it is now. So basically, it's more of the matter who is the one running the locker room. So we'll see that in some point. Now, our main event is Homicide versus Tom Lawler. Now, Tom Lawler said some really negative comments to Homicide due to his hometown in New York. Basically, that's what it was going to take place. So this time, Tom Lawler had to put up or shut up against a guy like Homicide, a very thug. But however, it took. I think Homicide tried to pull out the cop killer, but it didn't work. But it took a bit of a big lariat to take him down. But the moment when he was trying to reach for his fork to poke out Tom Lawler, Danny Limelight shows up to save. But Homicide was not happy to see him due to the fact that, as you guys know this, they're part of the same faction, LAX, back in MLW. So the real question is, what does this mean for him? Is he out, or he rather side with Tom Lawler? That is an interesting storyline we get to see. But we'll see what's going to happen on week 4. But right now, let's move on to our final review, AEW Full Gear. Okay, our final review, AEW Full Gear. This is the 4th pay-per-view of the year before the start of 2023. However, we opened up right now with the 0 hour, which is the kickoff show. Now, I know some people would think that was boring, but however, because there's certain matches involved in the 0 hour, has to be told. Now, our opening match, we have the factory consistent of Cole Carter, Lee Johnson, Nick Camarado, Aaron Solo, and QT Marshall taking on the best friends Chuck and Trent, along with Orange Cassidy and Rocky Romero. However, they were one person short. Everybody knew who it was. However, in that particular match, you can tell QT Marshall, as much as he wants to, prove that they are one of the most dominant teams now, but since Lee Johnson joined. But however, things did not go according to plan because Danhausen shows up, but with a different look, a different entrance. As you know, last time QT Marshall pile drive them through a steel steps, and now it looks more like he's getting revenge. But he brought in the teeth, and of course, Nick Camarado was the one who got the teeth, and blammo, it was over right there. So basically, they picked up the win. However, QT was the one who was dragged back into the ring, and Danhausen gave him a piece of his mind. And that led, of course, his little payback. Now, our next interview, of course, this one's a very good one. Rene Paquette actually interviewed Konosuke Takeshita, where he announced that he is now All Elite Wrestling. From the information I was able to get, it turns out that is now currently under double contract with both DDT and AEW. So he would be going back. I know some of you are thinking, wait a minute, is there like a working relationship between both DDT? They have a bit of a working relationship, yes, but not a partnership. Basically, there's certain wrestlers we definitely would like to see. They will, if they want to come. Konosuke Takeshita is one of them, so we will see him more often. Now, our next match is the semifinals of the AEW World Title Limiter. We have Brian Cage along with Prince Nana taking on Ricky Starks. As you know, Ricky Starks was able to overcome his little debacle with uh, Lance Archer, but however, he got himself beat up by Lance. But keep in mind, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks know each other pretty well. They were part of Team Taz, as you guys remember. But this is where, of course, Ricky Starks has to put everything on the line. He knows he's hurt, but one thing that was impressive is that he was able to put Brian Cage and Rochambeau to pick up the victory. So this coming Wednesday night, he will be facing against All Ego Ethan Page, and whoever walks out will be facing either Jon Moxley or MJF. Now, our 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 last match of the 0 hour, we have Jun Akiyama taking on Eddie Kingston. This is the dream match of Eddie Kingston. As you know, Eddie Kingston has always talked about the King's Road. Jun Akiyama was part of that King's Road from the very day. He's one of the pillars of All Japan Pro Wrestling. I think this was a pretty good match, and I think it showed how much this means to him to face against a legend like Jun Akiyama. But it took only a back fist for Eddie Kingston to take out Jun Akiyama and pick up the win. But in the end, he showed him respect, and he said that he will love nothing more to have another match with him. I think Kingston is happy that he finally get to defeat guys that he learned, guys that he studied, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that's pretty much with the 0 hour. So let's go on to the main card. Our opening match is the steel cage between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Now, as you know, Christian Gage would not get it. Couldn't get in, but he was somehow able to outsmart the ref, take the key to open the gate. However, he was being escorted out by the ref because he got involved. But later, Jungle Boy put every ounce of his body to try to withstand everything that Luchasaurus did. But of course, Jungle Boy also put everything on the line to try to dismantle Luchasaurus until he finally put him in a snare trap, weakening him so much. And of course, Luchasaurus had no other choice but to tap. Next up, we got the AEW World Trios title. We have Death Triangle versus the Elite. We haven't seen the Elite since what happened during that controversial backstage altercation with it at the medium scrum at All Out. I thought it was a pretty good match. I have to say it was very impressive. Like nothing changes. But however, the honest thing that does remain is, as you know, Pac would do anything to ensure that he remains champion at any cost. He did this before with the All Atlantic Championship. He used the Bell Hammer. Now, the first time Rey Fenix couldn't do it, but the second time he had no other choice, and it did work. Taking out Kenny Omega, even Don Callis was not happy with the result. But of course, the obvious thing is he had no other choice, and I think that's what led to the story. But later, it's been told we're going to see about the Saren series matches of this, so it's going to be interesting to follow out. Now, our next match is the TBS Championship. Now, as you know, Nyla Rose stole this title and proclaimed herself as the TBS champion, which was pissing off Jade Cargill. Now, Nyla was the only one who's been able to get under the skin of Jade Cargill, but however, Jade, who's in the pissed off mode, was not having it. But it only took a Jaded to take out Nyla Rose in order to take back what was taken from her, and that is the TBS Championship. So right now, this leads to 42-0. So the obvious question is, who will be the next person that hopefully will be dethroning her? Well, we'll find out soon enough. Now, our next match is the ROH World Title. We have Claudio Castagnoli, Brian Cage, Sammy Guevara, and Chris Jericho. Now, Chris Jericho, who is, as you know, asked Sammy to be there, and hoping that if Claudio, and Brian beat the crap out of each other, Sammy had no other choice but to lie down. But Sammy had other plans in mind. Now, it's no secret that Sammy's whole sole desire is to become champion, and I think that was the case. But Jericho was able to pick up the win when, of course, Customer was doing Sammy Guevara with the spin around, but he gave him a big Judas effect, and that led him to pick up the win to retain the title. However, during an interview later on, he talked about that, he respects Sammy and he understands what he's desired, but he doesn't feel like he's ready to become champion. However, Orange Cassidy shows up, tells him that he get a call from his buddy Tomohiro Ishii, who is a former ROH champion, telling he would like to challenge him for the belt. And of course, Jericho said he knows Ishii during the Tenru project or something like that, but we'll see what happens then. But of course, Hager, who was there too, had his sights set on the All Atlantic title. And of course, uh, Orange Cassidy tried to play little mind games with Hagar about his hat, ridiculous hat, but that's how it goes. Now, our next match, we have Saraya versus Britt Baker. Now, the obvious thing we know now is that she's been cured, but the real question is, how much ring rust does she have? I felt like she could barely try to keep up as much as possible, but it did sell a little bit. Now, the way the story is told is that, Britt Baker believes that Saraya is trying to steal the spotlight from her and all this, but no, this is more like for Saraya, it's like a big comeback because we weren't sure if she ever will come back to wrestle again because we have seen in the history with WWE about wrestlers they got bad neck injuries and they don't come back. But this time we did see it, but it took a very interesting pinfall for Saraya to pick up the win. And as soon as the match was over, we saw in the crowd her brother, Zach Zodiac. If you guys ever seen the movie My Family, her brother was right there watching. Next up, we got the TNT Championship. We have Powerhouse Hobbs, Samoa Joe, and Warlow. This was a very battle of behemoths between three of the most powerhouses in AEW, and I think this was a very interesting one. However, the real question is for Joe, like for us, did Joe did the right thing? Yes, I think Warlow did not see that there was a potential threat. You, if you're gonna be a champion, you know for a fact you're gonna have targets coming at you, and I think that's the biggest mistake he made, and he paid for it. But I have to say it was a very big, impressive match. But it took only for Joe to use a belt to take out Warlow, but he did a little chokehold onto um, Powerhouse Hobbs to force him to tap out to become our brand new TNT champion. Now, our next match is a no disqualification match. We have Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal taking on Sting and Darby Allin. I thought this match was insane. The one thing that was the X factor is, of course, is Satnam Singh, who was there watching, and I think that's the problem. So it took a while for somehow to take him out for Darby Allin and Sting try to focus on try to take out Jay Lethal and what's his name, Jeff Jarrett, but it was in fact uh, with what's his name, Darby Allin with the coffin drop onto Jay Lethal to pick up the win, and I think this is a good moment for them. So we don't know where we're gonna go from here, but we'll see down the road. Next up is the AEW Interim Women's Championship. I know a lot of people have talked about this match a lot. Two former friends, Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm. Of course, Renee, what's her name? Rebel was going to show up, but at the moment, Rebel was thrown out of the ring due to her interference in this match. But with the ref not seeing, Britt Baker shows up and stomp Tony Storm right in the belt in order for Jamie Hayter to pick up the win. A lot of people were happy for this, but however, we do have this distinct feeling that sooner or later Britt Baker might want to stab Hayter in the back to retain. Now, however, the obvious question does remain. Many people recently have been critical about the interim title. Tony Khan mentioned this about hopefully to have the unification of the women's title and the interim title when Thunder Rosa does come back. And I think that's the thing that the people are expecting. I know some of you are saying, let's just get rid of it and never count it. And the whole thing with Tony Storm never happened. I think that's really not a good choice. I think we should just wait till Thunder Rosa comes back because we may feel like the a-holes in the whole thing. Our next match is a semifinal. We have the AEW World Tag Team titles. Daddy Ass was banned from this because he still has his issues towards Swerve Strickland. I thought this match was pretty well. I think in this one you can tell that Swerve and Arguello were determined to win back the AEW World Tag Team titles, but however, Swerve has lost his control. He even used the pliers, tried to do something, but Keith Lee was not having it. He made the choice to walk away and not come back, and I think it sets everything down. But it became a 2-on-1 scenario, but it took only a mic. I forgot what the move that what's his name, Bowens used, but it worked. 1, 2, 3. They retained the titles. Now our main event is the AEW World Championship. We have Moxley versus MJF. This match was so intense, very big, and very how to say. Will MJF try to be who he claims that he is? That he was going to be the champion. Now there was a moment we did saw that he was going to pull out the diamond ring in order to get help, but Regal told him no, don't even think about it. But of course, MJF did exactly what he did. But however, something shocking happened. Regal tossed his brass knuckles onto MJF and whacked him, and MJF put it in his tights, becoming our brand new AEW World Tag Team World Champion. Obvious question is, why did Regal did this? We don't know what it is, but however, there was a video that was posted that you see the members of the Blackpool Combat Club trying to comfort Mox for what transpires. I'm going to presume we're going to get some answers probably by Wednesday. I think that's pretty much it what we're going to see. And let's move on to our last thing, what's going to be news updates. All right, our news updates for today. For GCW, as you know, we have Aurora taking place on the 20th. So by this time, this video will be uploaded. You get all the information. For the Aurora event taking place in Providence, Rhode Island, we're going to have Charles Mason versus Alley Catch. Now, I think this is just a good storyline that we've been seeing. If you guys saw one of the recent events in LA, someone threw in a box straight to Alley Catch, and I believe that is none other than Charles Mason. I think that's the angle they're going in that story, but we'll see what happens then. Now moving along, if you guys are big fans of this promotion called Deadlock Pro Wrestling, they're going to celebrate their first year anniversary on the 10th of December, and it was already announced that none other than Japanese sensation Konosuke Takeshita will be making his return for this particular match. No information yet about who will be his opponent, and I'm sure everybody's getting ready to see that. Now, two things are coming from the Twitter page from DDT, Dramatic DDT, which is like a wrestling outlet that keeps track of Tokyo Pro, DDT, Gambari Pro, all that. Now, I know everybody have been talking about the situation with Twitter. Luckily, it's still going the same way, but I will be doing my best as much as possible. Two things coming from Dramatic DDT. First one, Maki Ito defeated Janai Kai at the JCW event. I'm going to review that on the next episode. However, it did reveal that Janai Kai will be heading to Japan in January. Most likely, it is probably told that she will be heading to Tokyo Pro. Hopefully that's the case. I'm sure everybody's going to have a wonderful time. Now, the second update coming from Dramatic DDT, this one is from the Gambari Pro. Apparently they have a new trainee. I believe his name is Sotatsu Nakamura. He's 21 years old from Chiba. He's into wrestling and judo. Now he was part of he trained in the DDT Teen Project in 2021, and now he switched to Gambari Pro. Don't know yet about when his debut with Gambari Pro will take place. I'm sure it's going to be very fantastic. Now, finally, for you Kenta fans out there, so those from surrounding areas, pay attention. Kenta will be making his debut with House of Glory on the 7th, no, on the 17th of December for Revelations, and his opponent is none other than, of course, Low Key. I'm so excited for that match. That's going to be a banger of a match. And second, from Kenta, it's already been announced that Combat Zone Wrestling will be having his debut with him the following day on the 18th of December. And I think this is going to be interesting. This is the first time in a long time Kenta comes back. I know he's been in the US when he had a different name with WWE, but now it's great to see Kenta back during that time. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, as we speak, we have, of course, the New Japan Stardom historic crossover. I'm excited for that. I know some of you are. Hopefully, I get to review that. There's still no word on the Stardom stuff by itself before this. I haven't seen from November 12th or 13th of the Goddesses Tag League that took place, or Gold Rush, which is the matter. However, I will be doing the G, Jersey Championship Wrestling (JCW) Series of Survival. That's going to be very interesting to review. And if there's any news updates, I will put that prior before that. But if anything else, also one more thing, I'm still haven't gotten any information yet about Unagi Sayaka for the Sendai Girls, which is taking place right now. But hopefully, if there's anything I will do that on a separate DWZ news updates for everyone. So I think that's pretty much it for now. I'll see you guys on the next episode. So, um, what was I supposed to say? Oh yeah, I'll see you guys on the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.